Okay, let's get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Desjardins. I'm the manager of employer wellness at Griffin. I have Becca with me, one of our registered dietitians from Griffin, and then Chef Mike Rizzio, who's one of our chefs at the hospital. Um, you're in the Center for Healthy Living right now, part of Griffin's healthy eating series. What we do here is we like to talk about how nutrition can help fight chronic disease, different tips and tricks on how to eat healthier, how to institute some type of lifestyle change, including things like diet, activity, following some of the 6 pillars of the Academy's lifestyle medicine. So thank you again for coming. Thank you to those people that might be viewing on Facebook. We're going to be featuring, the topic of tonight was healthy eating on the go. We prepared, or Chef is going to prepare healthy chicken lettuce wraps. And we're going to discuss other tricks that Becca's come up with in her presentation when we're always on the go. I know myself, with both kids in soccer, my wife's a nurse, we're back and forth, traveling here or there. And one of the downfalls is you get stuck eating at fast food places. I laugh when I see like places like, McDonald's and all those, they try to offer like the healthy salads and stuff. And while it is still a viable option, for me, I just can't get a salad at one of those places. It's just tough for me to do.
But it's not necessarily easy to eat either.
And it's not easy to eat, as Becca said. So, but we're going to get started. I hope you enjoy the presentation, and I'll take questions as you go. If you have any, just raise your hand, and we'll break into a dialogue, okay? So, Becca, if you want to take us off, that'd be great.
Hello, I hope everyone can hear me okay. We're good? I'm very soft-spoken, so yell at me if I need to speak up, okay? So first we're going to talk about dining out mainly. So sometimes it's unavoidable, right? We go out for someone's birthday, a celebration, anniversary, something. We still can enjoy our lives, but we just want to make sure that we're doing what we can to be a little bit healthier. So many restaurants, I would hope all of the restaurants, especially chain restaurants, they have like healthy menu items like Cheesecake Factory, Chili's. They all have places or menus where you can have like a skinless menu, where it's 500 calories, you know what you're getting, because the portions at Cheesecake Factory are crazy. You get like 4 meals out of it. But like Chili's, they have an icon where it's like a healthier meal item. So they might do it that way. But all this stuff is online. So you can look up on your phone, computer, just to kind of get ahead of when you're going out. And then looking kind of how things are prepared. So things that are prepared with baked, braised, broiled, grilled, poached, roasted, or steamed are going to be a little bit healthier, where batter fried, pan fried, buttered, creamed, crispy, and breaded are going to be not as healthy. They're saturated fat, there's a lot of oil in them. But that doesn't mean we can't get an appetizer and have a little bit and then have a healthier meal. So portion sizes. When we know we're going out for like our anniversary or birthday, maybe have a lighter breakfast or lunch. And if, I know, with Outback, their bread is the best, I think. Cheesecake Factory again, their bread is good. But trying to limit yourself or telling them that you don't want it is always a good idea, especially if you have, I know my family, all our birthdays are at the same time for some reason. So if you know you're gonna be going out a lot, maybe skip the bread. But if it's like a special occasion, have the bread. Live your life. Love the bread. And then appetizers, sometimes they say to order an appetizer instead of a main entree. So like, they're gonna be smaller, more portioned. It's, again, all about the portion sizes. And I do this next one, so when you're going out to eat, I immediately ask for a to-go box, and I'll put half of my food in the to-go box immediately, because I know if I sit there and I'm talking, I'm gonna be picking. And then you don't have any more leftovers to bring home. But asking for the to-go box, it's so easy for the waiter that they could just go grab it, and then you just know for yourself that you're doing better. Or splitting a meal with a friend, getting an appetizer, sharing an appetizer, and then sharing a meal. That could work out perfectly. The other thing is alcohol. So it is always fun to order a drink, right? A beer with your steak or something, but limit it. Not to mention it's so expensive. So one drink out, have a special drink. And beginning your meal, maybe instead of an appetizer, having a super salad, just to I'm not more about taking food away, I'm about adding food. So adding the salad, adding the fiber while you're going out and having the not so healthy stuff. And always ask for grilled if you can. Just ask. They'll tell you no if they can't. And then having your sauces, dressings, and toppings on the side. That way you can add it in. Whereas when it's all mixed together, even a salad out, it's covered in dressing, it's covered in the toppings, it's loaded. And always ask about the sodium. You can look them up also, just so that you're aware, because some of these meals have like your day's worth of sodium in them. And that's also good about getting the to-go box, so you could put half of it away so you know you're not getting all that sodium at one time.
Becca, could we just talk about the alcohol really quick? I know.
Sure.
Just really quickly. So I've seen a trend now where they're offering lower calorie, different tequilas, different, like the Michelob Ultras. They're trying, some of the seltzer drinks are carb conscious. They're trying their best, because of course there's a monetary cost associated with them upselling the liquor as you go to a restaurant. But I think, to your point, watching alcohol is just an easy one to get rid of. But you know, I love a red wine with pasta, or if I'm having a steak, I'll get a heavier red. But again, I think it's that point. It's in moderation.
Yes.
And then going for those other healthier options. And now this time of year in the summer, I like my mojitos, but depending on, you know, how much sugar do you put in the mojito, right?
Yeah.
Or you know, use
like Splenda or
use a sugar substitute.
Yeah.
Instead of loading it in, because I usually pack some in and mull it in with all the lime and the mint and stuff, as we all do. But
the simple syrup.
Yeah, right. So I think to that point, I think there are healthier options. A lot of us don't take the time to just look to see what those other options are. But like Chili's did a nice job with their guiltless grill and some of their other options. So I just wanted to add that. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. And I didn't mention that before, it was on the screen, but alcohol can increase your appetite. So then while you're sitting talking, you're drinking, you're getting hungrier, you're picking, you know. So trying to limit it will be helpful. For when you get home, refrigerate your leftovers, please. Don't make yourself sick, because it can easily happen. I usually do it in, like, I'll put them in my own container so they stay fresh even longer, so it's sealed, because I know a lot of those containers, they just flip on. It's not really, dries out everything. And trying to avoid buffets in general, it's hard. But if you have to go to a buffet, if someone's birthday and they're like, I am going to this buffet, be there, be square. Go for like the proteins, the salad bar, go for those things first and fill up, and then go to the more fun items and kind of limit that way. And then use the small plates at the buffet. And then at the salad bar, try to limit those fattier dressings. And since you're at the salad bar, you're going to be putting it on yourself. So only putting that one ladle or half a ladle. And then fruit is always at the buffets. So maybe getting some fruit, or if that's all you want is fruit, that's fine, because you're having protein with your meal. Or you can have a little extra, like share your desserts with people. Pizza, like I said before, we don't want to take away food. I want you guys to eat. So adding salad to your pizza or extra vegetables, and then other meats like Canadian bacon, shrimp, or chicken can add protein to something that was not necessarily nutritious before. And then just trying new foods. There's all types of different foods. Definitely in this like Quarry Walk area, there's all kinds of new foods, which go venture out, try new restaurants, let me know how they are. And like I said before, ordering a small or half portion for dessert is a good idea, but also sharing too. And then ask for a to-go box too. You could take your dessert home, and then maybe you won't eat it all at once, or give yourself time to digest, and maybe you won't be as hungry when you get home. And then sandwiches, so this is more of on the go, right? So we want to choose leaner proteins, so it's easy to get like Italian Club with all the pepperoni and the oil and vinegar and things like that. Yep, exactly. But choosing leaner beef, ham, turkey, chicken, they're leaner, so there's not as much saturated fat. They'll keep you fuller longer. And then adding whole grain bread or a wrap is also going to help with the fiber intake. It's going to help keep you fuller, and you won't have to worry about eating, especially if you're on the go.
And Becca, on the wraps, since that's like a new thing, everyone's having wraps now. They do a nice job with the low carb wraps, and you'll see our spin on wraps without going with a carbless wrap with the lettuce wraps. But
Yeah.
just to mention it, even at the hospital in our cafeteria, we've given a lot of different options for wraps because it's been something that people have routinely asked for. So instead of your traditional white wrap, we have sun-dried tomato, roasted red pepper, and a lot of them are
Spinach,
low
all that
carb,
kind of stuff.
which gives it a little bit of an added benefit to it.
Yeah. I do mini low carb wraps. So this is eating on the go for me. It's a really quick dinner. Rotisserie chicken. Once you get home from the store, you kind of take all the chicken off of it, so it's just ready to go whenever you need it during the week. And then I'll take those low carb like mini wraps, and I'll put some rotisserie chicken on it, some cheese, bake it in the oven, and then I get like pre-made guac, or I make my own if I have time, and then tomato, lettuce, like all those vegetables, and kind of just throw it on right out of the oven, and you got chicken tacos so quickly. And they make refried beans in a can, so that's extra fiber and protein, and I always put cheese on it. A little something, And also for your sandwiches, pile in the vegetables, add the stuff, anything you like. What do you put on a sandwich? Like peppers, spinach, lettuce?
Avocado.
Avocado's a good one. That's good fat.
Yeah.
I love it. So who goes out to breakfast here? No. I asked this at my last talk and they said the same thing. I thought it was a thing. I don't know.
Becca,
Who's
what
like-
was the question?
Who goes out to breakfast? Like diner food,
If
No.
I go out to breakfast, I'm usually getting the same thing. It's usually like a Belgian waffle.
You need protein.
I know.
Get some bacon on this.
So the last time my wife and I tried a place, oh goodness, it's in Thomaston. I can't think of the name. Roses but I did get eggs with turkey bacon and toast, and it really filled me up. But
Yeah.
normally I go out. We don't get to go out to breakfast often because
Want a
it's
little
either
treat.
we're working during the week, or it's an early Saturday morning, packing the car and going to a soccer tournament or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't want to stop at Dunkin' and get a
Yeah,
bagel or
exactly.
something like that. So
Yeah.
you try to manage.
But going out like that with your family, you could do like French toast or Belgian waffle for the table. And then you kind of take your bite of it, get your fix for like the sweet treat, and then have your eggs and bacon and
Yeah,
not have to worry about it for the rest of the day.
that's a good point.
Also for breakfast, this is saying replace bacon or sausage with Canadian bacon or ham, or if place has a turkey bacon. I heard chicken bacon is good. I haven't tried it myself. If you guys try it, let
I've
me know.
definitely never tried that.
No, I've never heard of it until a few weeks ago. But I know muffins and bagels are easy to eat. They're really easy breakfast foods. But a lot of those things have a lot of carbs in them, and it's very carb heavy. So you might be filling in the morning, but then by 10 o'clock you're hungry again. But portion is important. So maybe having like half a muffin, and then you could do like a yogurt with it, add some fruit on it, and then you're adding all these different things. You're fuller longer because of the yogurt and the fiber and things from the fruit, but then you also get like a treat. I love my blueberry muffins. And again, we're adding stuff. We want to add vegetables to our omelets and replacing toast or hash browns with a side of fruit.
Hey, Becca, someone on Facebook commented, Five Guys is now offering a breadless burger where they're using lettuce wraps, which
I
is
see
really
that.
cool.
Yeah.
I've never had that. Thank you to Mary Bowen for letting us know that.
And that's
I
good because you
didn't
can get
know
the fries.
There's a place up in Monroe that offers eggplant buns. So they take eggplant and they cut it super thick, and they grill it until it kind of dries out, and they replace that as an
Wow.
option for a bun.
That-
And
I
people
would try it.
like, I met one person, and then all of a sudden, like 10 other people were talking about this one place that does it.
That's a great. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely something we can do.
Where-
I mean,
where
with a
is it?
thicker.
Monroe?
It's in Monroe. I don't remember the name, but
We'll find it.
I'll have to try that.
it's a
I don't know
little-
if I can get my
a
kids to
little
eat it,
deli.
but they'll try it. I'll trick them somehow.
Try this new bun.
Yeah, try this.
And then if you have smoothies, trying a low-fat yogurt, just because there is some saturated fat, especially if it's like a whole-fat milk yogurt, there's going to be more saturated fat than a low-fat yogurt. And then adding fruit to your smoothies. Frozen fruit helps kind of replace the ice so it's not as saturated, or not saturated, it's watered down with some ice. So frozen fruit is good. And you could do your own frozen fruit too. I've done it. I'll just throw the pint of blueberries in the freezer. Something quick just to have on hand. So say you're running, you just get home from work, you gotta cook dinner. My mom would always be snacking on chips, and she'd always say how much she didn't like doing that. But I didn't have these tips for her then, but for you guys, always keeping crackers on hand, whole grain, make sure you're getting fiber. Fruit, my blueberries are my favorite, so I just always have them in my fridge. I'll just take them out while I'm making dinner, because then it feels like I'm eating a little bit more, but I'm not snacking on chips, because I will do that.
There's something about that hand to mouth
Yes. I have ADHD, so it's
sensation.
really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm always,
Yeah.
I'm a snacker.
But the fruit's a great option.
Yeah, having that on hand makes me feel better about it. And then I do not keep any snacks in my desk at work at all, because I will snack on them all day. And then keeping them in the pantry. I do keep something by my bed. I shouldn't do it. Don't do what I do.
Yeah, we're going to pretend you didn't tell us that.
But it's real life, Mike. It's real life. I keep they're rice cakes, okay? They're s'mores rice cakes. They're great. You should try them.
I will try it because you told me to.
Wait, don't buy them actually, because they're really not in stock all the time. So don't buy them.
I actually tried. Someone that I work with always has, and I think they're Quaker, but they're like a sleeve of those thicker rice cakes. And there's really nothing to them. I mean, you take one out and it doesn't weigh anything. And
But the flavors are good.
But it actually, so I tried one day, and I was expecting the cardboard feeling like I'm not gonna like this, but it actually wasn't bad. But I went and bought the apple cinnamon ones.
Oh yeah.
And I put a little peanut butter on them.
Yep,
and
exactly.
I was pleasantly surprised. It actually saved me from wanting something else in between my meals.
That's the perfect snack.
It was really
Yeah.
good. I was really surprised.
Yep. And even those big ones, you could put for a breakfast. You could put peanut butter on it. You could put cottage cheese on it, a more savory breakfast with the plain rice cake. But they also make the flavored ones, which are great. You can put fruit on it too.
A friend of mine blends it with his oatmeal. He does an overnight oats.
Oh, with the cottage cheese?
No, with the rice cake. He breaks up the rice cake and blends it in. It adds texture to his shake. He loves it.
Okay.
I never heard of such a thing.
I guess.
But he swears by it.
I'm curious about the texture of that.
Well, I think that's a big thing. The crunch factor of snacking, just hearing the crunch is
Definitely.
Some sort of satisfaction.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you're cooking, or even breakfast or things like that, if you took kale and just made kale chips at home by just putting in the oven and just took that just to hear it, you get satisfaction just from hearing that.
You're absolutely right.
Yep. And then, like I was saying before, I have a rotisserie chicken every week. It's easy. I also do the salad in the bags. I don't always put all the dressing on it. I'll mix it up to make sure. I'll add more if I have to, but you can't take it away. But I also keep salad, regular salad, in the fridge. So I could always add more, but you could always add more but not take it away. And then keep fruit, granola, trail mix with you if you are out for a while. So say I get a bag of trail mix, I'll get home and I'll bag it up in sandwich bags so that it's just ready to go. If I'm going somewhere, I'm just gonna grab a bag of trail mix, and I won't have to worry about stopping, because it's gonna keep me full for as long as I need it to. And I could also have other snacks on hand, like the rice cake, and kind of have that with it. Depends on how long you're gonna be out for.
So we started doing that very thing. We went to Costco and we bought the big, massive thing of trail mix, which is pretty reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And we portioned it out into bags, because now when my son or daughter go into the cabinet, and instead of getting something that's, again, they're young, they could probably burn it away, but instead of going for something different, they're grabbing that bag because it's convenient, it's ready to go, and it's got pretty much everything they like in it.
Okay, so switching it up a little bit, we're going to talk about physical activity for a little bit. So they say to do at least 150 minutes to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity. Sorry, that's a little wordy, my bad. Or 75 minutes of a vigorous activity or an equivalent combination. So basically, work out really hard for a shorter amount of time, or a more aerobic like swimming, or
Yeah, so
maybe you'd be a little bit
if
better
people that
talking
might
about
have heard of high intensity interval
Yeah.
training, you know, it used to be you have to get 30 minutes a day minimum, right? Well, now what they're saying is, okay, so here's I don't want to call it an argument, but here's a debate I get at work. I'll talk to a nurse who's been on their feet for 12 hours, 12-hour shift. Their mindset's thinking, well, I'm getting 12 hours a day on my feet.
Your body gets used
She's
to that.
right, but you're not getting the advantage of the heart rate changing, the blood flow having to pump and relax and muscle contract. So it's different and less beneficial than if you were to go for a 20-minute walk at lunchtime, but you actually had a faster pace so that your heart rate got up a little bit. That's more beneficial than the sustained long being on your feet. And we can argue this all day but there's tons of research that suggests your heart needs to have that peak and up and down,
Yeah.
that contracting muscle control to get the blood flow pumping, to make it really beneficial. So we always say, okay, and we have an employee gym on site, but this time of year, you'll see employees walking around the hospital. We have a certain path
I
that
did
they
that
go
today.
on. And it's, if you can get out there for 15, 20 minutes and you walk at a brisk pace, you know, think of a treadmill, you're probably 2.7, 2.8, maybe 3.0. We're not talking to be that Jack LaLanne person where you're pumping, but you get a decent pace going, so your heart rate's, you know, maybe 90, 100, 105. That's more beneficial than just being on your feet for 10, 12 hours where you're sitting and standing, sitting and standing.
Yeah.
So that's where that recommendation comes down to. And when you think of like a true like HIT training, it's like the best way to describe would be if you were on a treadmill and you were walking at 2.0 for 2 minutes, and then you went up to a jog, cut back down to a walk, and then you went to a sprint. So the cycling of that, which truly is in many of those treadmill programs. If you look at some of the pre-fed programs, they have cycles built in where the peak goes up and down. The whole point is to change the blood flow and your heart rate to get the body thinking, what's next? And it has to make accommodations to it. That's more beneficial.
Because your heart is a muscle,
Correct.
so we want to work it out.
Correct.
And then this talks about muscle strengthening activities. So trying to get working out during the week, even if it's like going for a walk in the middle of the day, if we did that a few times a week, that's amazing. And then we can add in some muscle strength too. Do you have any tips for like exercises?
So there's tons of new research out there that suggests strength training being the most beneficial to keep our muscles, the muscle strong, more so the impact it has on our bone, on our density. Because if you think about it, your muscles are connected to the bones via tendons, right? So when you're contracting a muscle, that tendon is pulling on the bone. When the bone feels that resistance, it actually sends a signal to build more of that bone tissue, like to get technical, it's the osteoclast activity that keeps your bone strength up. So as we get into our, with women, postmenopausal hormone changes, with men, as we lose vitamin D, as we're doing less things, that strength training, resistance training is 10 times more important. And all it could be is, and there's sitting activities, there's standing activities, body weight, just doing some squats, taking, if you don't have any dumbbells, getting heavier soup cans and doing some shoulder presses, arm curls, shoulder raises, things that put strain and stress on your muscles and your bones, keeps them stronger. And if you think about it, your skeletal system is what's stabilizing everything. So when you hear people have bad backs, a lot of the muscles that connect to their back are just atrophied and weak.
Yep.
So then they start exhibiting poor posture, then our balance changes. It's kind of like a domino effect. And they've looked at different cohorts and studies for people that strength train. They actually live an average of 10 years longer, and they have healthier lifestyles as opposed to those that don't. And just think about it. Chronic diseases, you have your diabetes, your obesity, your congestive heart failures, all can be curtailed with diet and activity. So it's directly correlated.
Yeah. And those exercises you were saying, like with the soup can, you could do that while you're watching TV.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And once a week I do that.
Should be 3.
I know, but we had to start somewhere.
We'll fix you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And this is just a little bit easier way to look at what we were just talking about. So the main
See
thing
the
we want
first
to do.
thing? Don't watch TV.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm being realistic. Okay. But this is just a quick thing to look at. So cutting down on TV, sitting around. So I wouldn't say so much TV. I would say we want to cut down on sitting around. Surfing on the internet. I know I get caught sitting on my phone, and I'm like, whoa, it's been 45 minutes.
It's just too easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's too
Yeah.
easy. I like the third one where it talks about, you know, that aerobic activity, getting
Yes.
something that gets your
Yeah.
heart rate up a little bit, because that's what really people don't tend to do enough of. You know, I've even noticed a change, like with our busy lifestyles. You know, I have a 3-year-old dog, and getting him out morning, afternoon, or morning, as soon as I get home from school. Wow. As soon as I get home from work, and then before bed, that 3 to 4 times has made a big difference. Because even because I coach a soccer team, and you know the boys, they're 11 and 12-year-olds, they always try to challenge you in one way or another. So at the end of practice, we say, okay, we don't have to run laps if you can beat the coach in a race. Well, me
Nice.
and the other coach take turns, but these kids are getting faster. So it's like, how do you
You're
keep
coaching
up with
them
them?
good.
Yeah, the coach has to get faster. So, but that really, I like that 3 to 5 day a week one. That means, to me, that's the most important one there.
That's all I got. If
So,
you want to talk more about
Questions for Becca. So, from the the nutrition side, I mean, I keep bringing it back to us now. But if you think about it, I didn't have anyone when I was 8, 9, 10, 11. You know, it's the older days, right? We're outside until it's dark.
Yeah.
Now kids don't do that. Now they're on their tablets, their PS5s, or whatever. So, but I didn't have anyone talking to me about the importance of activity and nutrition.
Yeah.
We just did it, and
Yeah.
you ate what mom put on the table.
Yep.
And now with working families, it's convenience, and
Yeah.
they're putting processed foods and things. So if we can educate the kids to ask for certain things, or want more, or want something different, get their palate to change,
Yeah.
it's really going to be beneficial.
Yeah. And like maybe McDonald's is a treat versus a daily thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Is Canadian bacon better than British bacon?
Because it's from a different part of the animal, I believe, right? There's not.
There's
Bacon
definitely
I would
less
say-
pork
fat.
belly.
I would say that's based on which kind of brand it's coming from.
That's fair.
You know, so Canadian bacon, yeah, it's leaner
Yeah.
than just the
mainly.
belly of the pig, you know, if you will. But I would say sometimes if you get a very processed Canadian bacon that looks like bologna, because I've seen like other ones like that. So I think it's very much based on the product, but bacon is just fat from the fattiest part of the animal.
Yeah.
You know, best part, right? No, I hear you. I hear you.
Any other questions for Becca? No?
here
all
all
right.
night if you need.
Nice job, Becca.
Thank you.
So we're going to shift over to Chef Mike now.
Thank you very much. So we are going to do a chicken lettuce wrap with just a little Mediterranean spin. As we do this, I'm going to kind of veer left and right to show you a couple different options. But because we don't like eating the same thing every day. Our palates get very bored of it, but things like this can help us, I guess, eat successfully throughout the week instead of stopping and grabbing that quick bite. If we take 1 hour a day, we can make 3 or 4 meals very easily with a couple different options. Unless you're like me, I could just eat the same thing 4 days in a row, and I really don't. It doesn't bother me. But the other part is cooking in the kitchen. We don't like cleaning. We don't like using a lot of pans. So we're trying to make this a user-friendly 1 or 2 pan dish. So today there's going to be 2 cutting boards just because we have raw chicken. And we're going to do everything in one skillet, a mixing bowl for the yogurt, and then I'll talk about a couple different options. So the first thing that we have is, I'm doing, the recipe you see in front of you is for 1 pound of chicken breast, and that realistically is going to make 3 portions. It could make 4 if you really want to measure everything out. Specifically use a scale maybe to get a 1/4 pound per helping. So we're going to get a pan. I like using a cast iron pan because it really helps get the caramelization going. it's going to add a lot of flavor that way without using salt or spices, or even some of those spices that you may normally use that may have MSG in it. So as you can see, the pan's pretty hot. Cast iron pan, I'm okay with it being a little smoky like that. So all I did was took chicken breasts. You could use thighs, you could use pretty much anything that you find at the grocery store. I take it and I just slice them nice and thin. The thicker the piece, the longer it's going to take to cook. The thinner the piece, if you like a lot of caramelization and a little bit of crunch, cut them thinner, and if not, you know, a little bit thicker. I think that this is also a good option for, we're doing wraps today, but if you wanted to prep this out to put it on top of a salad as a different way for a second meal. So chicken goes in the pan with a little bit of oil. And today we're going to use peppers, some cherry tomatoes, fresh dill, scallions. We're doing an everything bagel seasoning. Those can all be switched out to any herbs or spices that you like. We have a breakdown for the everything bagel seasoning if you make it at home, because you can buy it pre-made. I would just always recommend looking at the ingredients list, because sometimes they do throw in the things that make things shelf stable, some of those additives, which you may want to exclude, you know. But we're going to use a couple bell peppers, and we're just going to slice these up. You want to dice them, that is completely fine. I like to, if I'm doing a one-pot dish, I like to keep everything in the same shape, if you will, so it all cooks kind of together. And then you're just adding it at the different stages. So the chicken is going to take the longest to cook. This can stay in the pan and just let it go. I kind of forget about it for 3 or 4 minutes until you start smelling it. And we've all cooked chicken before, so that little bit of caramelization, you'll smell right away. So as you can see here, I have some red, some yellow, some orange bell peppers. If you don't like peppers, you can omit them. Obviously, put some onions instead. Use any kind of vegetables. If you like some sort of green to replace it, whether it's kale or bok choy, or changing up the flavors. So we can do shredded carrots with some bok choy, and we can do a sesame dressing, you know, and all of these different kind of things. Or if you're just kind of like a plain Jane and you just like salt and pepper, and you don't even necessarily want the peppers or onions, and you just want to keep it super simple with your favorite, just slice them up, because we're going to put them all in the same pot, and we're just going to do a quick saute of everything. So I have this on pretty high heat. I would say medium high, if not high. And again, that's kind of your comfortability of working in the kitchen. So as you can see, a little bit of color. And while that cooks, we have the peppers cut. We're going to do some tomatoes. So a little chef trick, if you will. Deli containers, I don't know if everybody has them at home or not, but these are the lids, right? Instead of sitting here and cutting cherry tomatoes one by one, you could take one lid, put it down on the bottom, take the other lid, flip it over on top, kind of just even them out. Watch your fingers, put the knife in between, right? And now we've cut them a whole bunch at one time, right? If you don't have deli containers, you could use 2 plates. Flip one plate over on the bottom, put all the tomatoes on top, take the other plate, same way, and then you just whack them in half too. Because this is something when you have to do it for 10 or 15 people, you're like, oh God, that's like 50 tomatoes, right? So it's a cool little trick.
Mike, I think your knife would have to be sharp, though.
A sharp knife is always good. A sharp knife is always good. If I'm going to be cut, I want it to be by a sharp knife. You know, that's definitely. So chicken's still going. Chicken, this amount. So this is about 1.5 pounds of chicken in here. All of this should take less than 15 minutes. So from the time that you start cutting your chicken, to the end of the dish, 15, 20 minutes tops. And then we could put it onto a pan, put it into the fridge and just let it cool out. And then we can portion it out into a bunch of different containers. So while that's still working, I took these heads of romaine. You could use butter lettuce. You can use, even if you want to do kale or Napa cabbage or something. I like using a really crispy, crunchy lettuce and or green. Because again, like we talked about before, something about having a crunch, you know, satisfies the palate. So for the big leaves, just one. And then for the inside leaves, I just take two and I put them together. So when we portion this out, if we're taking it to go or we're bringing it for lunch, I would take two to-go containers. One of them has a bunch of lettuce leaves in it, and the other one will have your protein and vegetables. And if you want to keep them separate or whatever, but you can do it hot. So that can go into the microwave for a minute, warm up the protein and vegetable, and the greens on the side, and then you can just build them as you're eating them. So we prep that out, and we're going to work on the yogurt sauce. So what I did was we got some Cabot Greek yogurt. It doesn't have to be a whole fat. It could be a low-fat Greek yogurt. It could be something, whatever your favorite brand is. And also keep in mind about what you're cooking. So if you do like a flavored yogurt and it's something that would match with chicken or with steak or with pork or whatever you're using, there's no reason to say I can't use a strawberry yogurt with chicken if I'm matching, you know, maybe I want to put some blueberries in it, all those kind of things. Be creative about it because it keeps your palate surprised, if you will. And it's not like I'm eating the same lettuce wrap every single day. So I take that yogurt, I put it into a colander overnight, and I just let it strain out. Put it in the fridge, and I just forget about it. A little plastic wrap over the top, and let out a little bit of that water. Into that, we have some fresh dill that we just chopped up. So that's no big deal. Garlic. You could use fresh garlic. It's going to kind of punch you in the mouth. If you're going to a business meeting after lunch, maybe you don't want to use fresh garlic. Okay, but there's no reason why granulated garlic can't be substituted for that. Or omitted completely, because this is the part where you can get creative. The other night we actually did this at home, and I used harissa and maple syrup with the yogurt. Put it into a blender, and then I actually added some feta cheese into it too. You know, so there's all these different combinations that you can use and get multiple meals throughout the week. And it's surprising when you realize, when you go to the store and you buy like a package, or you buy all the ingredients for this, and you're like, I just got 4 or 5 meals out of this, compared to, we were talking about wraps and stuff. If you go to Moe's and you get like, you're like, I got one wrap and it was $23. How did this happen?
Yeah.
You know?
I think, especially now with what we're seeing, the cost of groceries. I mean, all of you here know, I'm sure. You know, I always share this. I think of our grocery bill for the house. You know, we used to spend around $150 a week. Now we're over $220, and it's not like we're buying anything different. You know, we try to eat as healthy as we can, but there's some things that you have to have, and
going the extra
it's crazy.
step. Going the extra step to plan out the meals and being able to like cross-utilize stuff for different meals, whether we're doing it for lunch or we're doing it for breakfast or dinner. Taking lettuce, you know, there's been times where we've all thrown stuff in that vegetable drawer away because we bought 2 zucchinis when in reality we only needed 1. But to have the ability to utilize those products without really having to think about it, by dumping them into a dish like this, you have that half a zucchini and you're like, what am I going to use this for? Nothing. Is the perfect reason to just chop it up and throw it in, you know? So
When I was growing up, my mother used to make, we used to call it jambot, and it was just cut up vegetables, and people used to bring us vegetables as if we didn't have our own garden. So we had all these vegetables. So my mother used to hate waste, so she'd be like, I'm just going to make something. So she'd get a can of crushed tomatoes, and she'd cut up zucchini and squash, and she'd make it, we called it a jambot, and she'd put ground meat in it, And we didn't have a lot of money growing up. It was whatever we ate, like I said before, was on the table. And I never appreciated it until I was buying my own groceries and having to foot the cost of everything, And it's like, this time we're getting into, our garden season, right? And how many of us end up with those big baseball bats for zucchinis? I mean, sometimes I don't pick it, and it's like, 2 feet long.
Yeah.
And I used to say to my wife, I'm like, this is too tough. Why are we going to eat this? She goes, oh, no. So she'd cut it off, and she'd stuff it, and she'd grind a little bit out, make a great stuffed zucchini. And I'm telling you, we've gotten a lot more creative as we've gotten into this part. But for a while there, it's like, my nephew, who's in his 20s, he's eating out 2-3 times a week, and it's like, why? He's like, oh, well, we're meeting friends, we're eating this. I'm like, okay, well, have fun spending $300 a week.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of the times we don't even realize it. We don't even know that we're spending it. But, so we take, with Greek yogurt, I drain this, right? A little bit of dill, a little bit of garlic. We're going to take some lemon juice. I squeeze some fresh lemons. We will mix this in. And if you're doing this for multiple meals, then I would just split the yogurt, season them differently. If you wanted to add avocados into this and just kind of mix them all up. If you wanted to add any kind of spices or any other kind of added sauces or flavors that you like, I would just split it up. But I'm still going to work off the same base recipe. So the chicken's probably about 60-70% cooked there. You can hear the heat, right? You can hear the snaps in the bottom of the pan. There's not a lot of liquid. There's not a lot of water. So the chicken is losing its moisture. At that point, I'll add in the peppers. And I'm just letting that cook. At this point, right, peppers have a lot of water in them. So you can just high heat and let it cook. The higher the heat, if we turn this down and let it simmer, all the water is going to come out and it's going to kind of turn into soup, right? It's also going to kind of burn the bottom of the pan the longer it cooks. It's going to take longer. You're going to lose the crisp of the vegetables. You're going to lose that maillard or the caramelization on the chicken itself. So sauteing, we just want high heat and just let it keep cooking. I also take into account what I'm going to do. Am I eating it right in the moment, or am I going to reheat it? Right? If I'm going to reheat it, then I'll cook the vegetables less. If I'm going to put it into the microwave, or I'm going to put it into the oven, I'll only cook the veggies 50% of the way. And I don't know if you guys can see, but there is some like sticky bits on the pan. So I'm sure you've heard the word fond, and that's still a lot of flavor in the pan. So as we finish this, we want to make sure that we take that off. And we're going to continue cooking, but you're going to be left with a little bit of a sauce that'll coat the chicken and vegetables. So it's going to keep it fresh, and it's going to keep the chicken moist, because I think that's the worst thing ever is when you're eating lunch and you're like, God, it's rubbery, dry chicken. I hate this. I'm never doing this again. So the yogurt can go to the side. We cut some tomatoes. We're going to take a little bit of tomato paste. I always recommend the small cans of tomato paste. I see this, they sell the big ones. I don't think there's ever a reason not to buy this little can, you know. Never buy the bigger one. So I would say about 1.5 tablespoons is all it's really going to take. Some fresh half tomatoes. They don't have to be cherry tomatoes. They could be anything you're growing in your garden, anything you find at the store. And again, tomatoes, this is the part that I was talking about, the bottom of the pan. So we still have that. We're putting fresh tomatoes in. It has a lot of natural juices, a lot of water in it. So hot pan is going to release those. The tomato paste is going to start creating that sauce. And if you've noticed, I haven't seasoned it. I know the recipe says kind of add this all at one time. Working with a hot pan, I don't think there's anything worse than burning your seasonings. Okay? Even like black pepper. If you burn black pepper, it's got a strong punch in your mouth. But the oregano or the sesame seeds that we're going to put in, or the poppy seeds, burning those really creates that charcoaly like flavor. So I'm cooking this out 90% of the way before I season. For this recipe, compared to other recipes where I'm seasoning as I go, I'm building flavors as I go. For the saute portion of this, for doing a quick 15-minute dish, and this is the part, I would say we're right about there. So I'm going to add the seasonings. We're going to add a little bit of oregano. All of these things, you can follow the recipe because we've tried and tested this and it works. But if you like some of the flavors, or you like different flavors, or you like heavier flavors in some sort of way, by all means. Salt and pepper. Just a little pinch. That salt is also going to help draw out some of the liquids that are left. And as you can see here, the peppers still nice and crunchy. They still have a bite. Now at this point, we are about done. If you're prepping this out for later meals that you're going to reheat, I would really just take it off. If you're ever nervous about cooking chicken, all the way through, we cook it to 165 degrees. So you can always grab a couple pieces of chicken, put the thermometer in, and if it's 165 degrees, then you guys are completely safe and clear. What I like to do is add just a touch of lemon juice. This is going to help deglaze that pan a little bit. If you want to use lime juice, or you wanted to use a little bit of white wine, or even just water, that's completely okay. But I think this adds a little step of creating a sauce that makes the dish just pop a little bit. I've really started to add just a little bit of acid right at the end. It really brightens up your palate. It makes things just pop just a little bit more. Whether it's a vinegar or whether it's some sort of citrus, I think it adds a really nice flavor. All right. So that is ready to go. Now, if you wanted to omit that seasoning and you wanted to create a couple different versions of this, right before I added everything, I would just fully cook that chicken, separate it into maybe 3 different bowls, and then season one individually if you're going to be reheating it. Because those kind of raw herbs or raw seasonings will cook if you're putting it back into the microwave, or you're putting it back into the oven to reheat it. So that is that part. We have our sauce made. This is also a great time to talk about some healthy fats, so avocados, or you want to do some sort of beans, whether it was black beans or something like edamame, peas, any sort of those crunchy raw vegetables that you wanted to leave like that. This would be the perfect time to either add them in, or as you're building out your plates, that's where I would separate them. So we're going to put some of the lettuce leaves in to-go containers, then we're going to put some of the protein, then we're going to put the sauce in a little cup, and we're going to build our little lunchbox, and whatever kind of crunch factor you want. And I don't even think it's out of the realm to talk if you wanted to toast some tortillas, cut them into little strips, just to have a little bit of a crunch for the palate and keep it interesting. I think the portion control part of this is the big thing that we're talking about. So let's just grab a plate.
And Mike, I believe we have a video on our YouTube set now about food portioning.
Yeah, we did one on, so it's on the Griffin YouTube channel, and it was really kind of dedicated to meal prepping.
Yeah.
And taking 1 hour, being able to cook 3 or 4 different proteins and making dishes for the week. The other night, me and my girlfriend we just did a whole selection of wraps that we tried in a couple different ways. We did just a traditional wrap, the white tortillas. We tried different kind of greens, and we did one with kale. We did one with Napa cabbage. We tried rice paper. something like a low carb stuff. So we took them, we plastic wrapped them, and then we put them in the freezer. Now there is a chance that the greens are just gonna wilt down. Okay, so let me finish that. I'm sorry. Plastic wrap, and then we wrapped them in aluminum foil. Right. So when we take them out, we take the plastic wrap off, re-wrap it in the foil, put it either in the toaster oven or your regular oven at home, or maybe even an air fryer. The greens, we actually left it. We're going to take them out, leave them in the plastic wrap, and just put them in the microwave for like 30, 40 seconds. And we're actually going to test that out. So the greens are going to kind of cook a little bit, but at the same time, it's a low carb option. And we're testing it to see if it's going to work. But so just options, and that's something I would always stress too. Try different things.
Yeah, the creativity
Try
in the
different.
kitchens really goes a long way.
So we will grab a couple of these lettuce wraps.
So as Chef Mike is gonna plate some of this for us, any questions specifically to what you've seen, to the great job that Mike's done? I know you saw him use cast iron. You don't have to use cast iron, but cast iron has its benefits. It maintains the heat, keeps it hot for longer. You do get a little iron into your food from that, which a lot of us are iron deficient anyway, so that's beneficial. So as Mike does that, I'm going to help him kind of plate some stuff for us to try. But
Yeah.
does anyone have a specific question for Michael? Yes, ma'am.
The sauce, how
Yeah.
long would it stay in the refrigerator?
So I'm okay with any sort, because we drained it, it's actually going to extend the shelf life. So that is a big part that I didn't mention. I would say I never go past 5 days. Okay, so, but I will buy that with the intention of eating it, having a portion for breakfast, or utilizing it for also a dessert option. So I'm buying something like this, trying to stretch it. You can also make that and freeze it. Okay, and then if you have one of those, like the blender, the little blitzer,
Yeah,
the turbo,
Yeah,
whatever
the
they call it.
NutriBullets
Yeah, the
or
NutriBullets.
yeah.
You can also take that frozen, pop it into there, and just hit it a couple times. Maybe you have to put like either a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of water, but that will pulse right back up from a frozen state. So you can freeze that. Let's say you bought one of those, you made 5 different sauces for a month. It could sit there no problem in the freezer.
Great question.
And it'll whip right back up.
And you know, yogurt has so many options. If you had the extra yogurt, I mean, you could easily make a fruit smoothie out of that. You can come up with different ways. A lot of dressings are yogurt based now to save on calories.
Over here.
All right, so I think we're gonna, as Mike plates that, we'll let the camera see that final product, what it looks like. If no one else has any questions, I'm gonna just say my last little spiel here. So again, thanks for being with us at the Center for Healthy Living. We do these types of things 2 to 3 times a month. A few people we've seen regularly here. We appreciate you guys coming out. I believe our next one is May 1st. It has a little bit of our a spin on bariatric eating. We do workshops for people that are interested in weight loss and bariatric surgery. We're doing something May 1st, which is, Mike, refresh my memory on what we're making.
Shakshuka.
Oh, shakshuka, right.
So,
which is pretty much like breakfast for dinner, is what we're calling it.
yeah. Right. It's a skillet. It's tomatoes kind of poached
Peppers.
in tomato sauce, if you will. So it's a Middle Eastern kind of thing. If any Italian people know eggs in purgatory, it's the same sort of thing. But it's a seasoned tomatoes with some vegetables, and we poach eggs right in.
So it's actually from North Africa. It's an African dish, but it's basically exactly what he said. Peppers, tomatoes, you simmer that into a sauce, and then you crack the eggs on top, and it looks like a big cast iron. It looks really good. One of our registered dietitians, Larissa, who works with Becca, came up with that to make. So we're going to be doing that on May 1st. And then in May, we'll have something. It's Women's Health Month. We like to celebrate our mothers. So we'll do something surrounding that as well. So similar to how you guys found this event, it's on griffinhealth.org/events on our Facebook page. I know someone mentioned they might have seen it on Facebook. Sometimes we get an ad into some of the local newspapers. We send out flyers, but just keep an eye out. I usually try to send a reminder email to people that sign leave their emails here to let you know that we're going to be having this event coming up. So just want to say thank you all for coming. As he's plating that up, we'll make sure everyone tastes everything. Mike
Absolutely.
Rizzio, thank you.
Thank you guys very
Becca,
much.
thank you. We're going to sign off.
Yeah, sure. If you want, you could actually start just throwing a little dollop of sauce on top.